my name is Jess and this is my Whippet. She is unfortunately also called Jess, but you might know her as the worried Whippet. And this is a video about what it's like going from one Whippet to two. It's a question that we've asked ourselves loads over the last 4 years, and we got to trial it out with very special thanks to our lovely friend who went away on holiday and left us with her Whippet, Chevis. Just a little disclaimer at the front here, Chevis is, here he is, the most beautiful boy. He's so well adjusted and so gorgeous and such a joy to have around. So I think we have to reconcile ourselves to the fact that we're never going to find one as good as Chevis if we do get a second one. But this video was just going to give you a bit of insight into what it was like for us for 2 weeks with two dogs. The first difference, I guess, and one of the biggest, was walking them. Walking two dogs is obviously different from walking one. Not the same as walking like five. It's still quite manageable, but it's definitely a different experience, and there was a bit of adjustment for me when we first started out. The main thing that I'd say about going for walks with the two of them was it was way more fun. It was more fun for them, and because of that it was more fun for us. Like, they love running around together, chasing each other. If one of them gets a good smell, the other one's straight over there to check it out. We had a couple of peeing on each other's heads incidents. They rolled in a dead fish, but like, generally speaking, aside from being absolute terrors, they had such a good time, and therefore so did we. It is a little bit harder. The thing that I found difficult was the leads. I normally have my phone in my hand when I'm out for a walk. That's because I'm filming for my Instagram, Worried Whippet, or because I'm trying to work at the same time. I have ADHD, I find it hard to switch off. It's probably not great, but that meant that I was holding two leads in one hand, my phone in the other hand, and these dogs were just going under and over and under and over each other. So I actually asked people on Instagram for their advice, and one of the things that they suggested that was really good was letting the leads tangle and twist around each other so that you've got kind of almost one rope to begin with, and then it splits off into two at the bottom, and that way there's just less scope for them to kind of mess around each other. It also meant that I wasn't trying to untwist the rope or lead all the time. I was just kind of letting it happen, going with the flow. So that was definitely helpful. I guess that's sort of the same as what other people said, which is buy a lead splitter, which we didn't do this time, but I think I probably will invest in one, because we do walk Jess with like my mum's dog buddy and stuff as well, and that can be a bit of a nightmare. But yeah, so the lead splitter basically attaches to the end of your lead, splits in two, and it just gives them a shorter amount of lead individually, so that there's a bit less of a tangle at the end. It's winter here at the moment, which means it's dark in the evenings, but we had really good fun taking them out for walks after work. They have these little light up collars, which I can't work out where they're from. They're both different brands, but I think you can buy them anywhere, like Pets at Home or online or whatever. But they're just like little LED collars, and we would take them for little walks in the dark, and it would be like going for a walk with two tiny aliens. All you could see was their light up collars. It was so sweet. But yeah, the long and the short of it is a bit more logistically challenging, but they got loads more exercise, I think, when there were two of them, or at least Jess did. She did a lot of running, and they just seemed to have a better time, and I really enjoyed that as much as they did, I think. Number two, and this is, I think I've subconsciously written these out in order of like the most disruptive. I don't know, I think actually this is number one. If you asked Ollie what he found most challenging about this, it was, and we entirely brought it on ourselves, it was sleeping with them both in the bed. We have always slept with Jess in the bed. It's such a joy. I did make a video where I talked about it more, I think. I just love it. She's so snuggly and sweet. She's quite small for a Whippet, so she's just like a tiny bagel, doesn't take up much room, and she keeps me warmer, and it's just the best. When we wake up in the mornings, we have these like long morning snuggles, and it just starts the day on the right foot. So many good endorphins. Love it, love it, love it. To facilitate that, we have a super king size bed, because the thing about Whippets is they do start off small like a bagel, and then you probably already know this if you're watching this video, but like overnight they kind of spread out, and then they've got these huge long pointy legs, and before you know it you're kind of relegated to a tiny corner of your own bed. So yeah, we bought a super king size bed when we moved house, and best thing we ever did, we got a really good mattress as well. Like, mwah, can't recommend it enough. So there were two of us and the two dogs in the super king size bed together, and it was a very different proposition. To begin with, Chev is a little bit bigger than Jess, and that little bit of size difference actually made quite a lot of difference to our sleep. Also, where Jess is like really small like a donut, tucks her feet under a case of monsters, like she makes herself really mini. Chev is like a super relaxed king, like he lies on his back, there's legs in the air. I, again, absolutely loved it. but it did leave you with less room in the bed. I think arguably the most annoying thing that they both do is get underneath the covers with you, which they can't do by themselves. So they nudge you to like lift up the covers so they can get underneath. They spend half an hour under there, they overheat, they come back out again, and then they nudge you again to get back in when they get cold. So you kind of are up and down in the night, and when there's two of them kind of tramping in and out and over the duvet, like that is double the disruption. I've got very good at not waking up, so Ollie, my partner, reliably informs me that Jess the dog comes and sort of breathes on my face. I, without waking up, lift up the duvet, she gets in underneath, and like the same again when she decides to get out. But Ollie does not have the same good fortune as me to be able to sleep through the tiny dog paws. But they also loved sharing the bed with each other, so they weren't kind of territorial about it. We would wake up and they'd be in as much of a tangle as we were, kind of like heads on each other's bums, and you know, very sweet, snoozing together. And they would stay in bed after we got out in the mornings. The mornings were super fun with two of them for a little cuddle. Like, I just loved it. I absolutely loved it. But I do think that what we've learned is that we'll probably go for a smaller dog, because we really do value being able to share that space with them, and the bigger the dog, the harder it is, especially when you've got two. The third difference for us was meal times, their meal times. Because there were two of them in the house, they were both more food focused than normal. So Jess in particular was like super on the alert. When Chevis came into a room, she was checking to make sure her food wasn't down. As soon as their food went down, like Jess normally, she's a grazer, so we leave her food down over the course of a day, and she'll go over, eat 5 kibbles really slowly, and then, you know, sit on the sofa for a bit. But when Chevis was here, not the same story at all. She was like gobbling her food down and then going to check if she could have a bit of his. So we found that we had to be much more present during their meal times to make sure that like there was enough physical space between them, that they weren't kind of looking over their shoulders to check the other one wasn't going to eat their dinner. Yeah, we just had to do a bit of like peacekeeping. Like there weren't any problems, but it was precautionary. We didn't want Jess to go and nick Chevis's food. Like that wouldn't have been much fun for him. And as a result, like we weren't leaving food down during the day or anything. And the same went for snacks. Like in the evening, we'd give them both a chew, and we'd just make sure that they both had like a quiet space to go and chew their chew in. The fourth thing was traveling in the car. We did quite a lot of this because we went on lots of nice walks and stuff. So we had a car seat for each of them in the back of the car, and it was absolutely fine. I mean, it was just like traveling with one. The only thing we had to make sure was that they got in a bed each, and they didn't try and get in the same bed, or that they didn't try and like switch over beds or anything. So we had to like really settle them down in a bed each, make sure that they were both individually comfortable before we set off on the journey. Jess definitely wants other people's stuff. She prefers Chevis' bed, Chevis's bed to her bed, Chevis's food to her food, etc. So we had to make sure that she stayed in her lane in the back of the car. Number 5, bath time. We got to experience the joys of a 2-dog bath time because we took them for a walk one day by the river, and they rolled in a dead fish. It was truly, truly the worst smell I've ever smelled in my life. It was haunting. When I talk about it, I could still smell it. Horrendous. Anyway, they had a great time, an absolute blast. Luckily they were wearing jumpers, so we kind of peeled them off. Bath time, much the same. With both of them, we washed them individually, one by one. The only thing we found really was that, you know, it takes twice as long. It was quite a big undertaking, especially because like it was such a gross thing that they'd rolled in. We had to do 3 shampoos each, and it really did take us a while. Luckily there are 2 of us, which I think really helps as well. I don't know what it would be like if there was just one of you trying to wash 2 dogs. I don't know, let alone like nail trimming and stuff. Don't know how that works. Number 6 is clothes and collars. So much fun with 2 dogs. Chevis is bigger than Jess, so their clothes didn't actually fit each other, but their collars really did. We get most of our collars from Dog and Bone, who do really great, really affordable martingale collars. I'll put a discount code and a link in the video description. But we also have some kind of sight hand style collars, and we've got them in all different colours. And we just had quite a lot of fun like switcherooing them and putting them in different collars. And yeah, personally I thought it was a blast. Just to be clear, it's November, which is why they're wearing clothes so much, because it's really cold. We're also in the middle of a cost of living crisis in a big old Victorian house, which we're in the middle of putting an extension on, so it's quite leaky, it's very cold, and so they did wear clothes quite a lot, but if it was the summer, obviously, that wouldn't necessarily be the case. I'll pop a link here to a video I made about keeping your whippet warm in the winter, because in case that's something you're struggling with, it feels particularly pertinent at the moment. And finally, it was just the snuggling. The snuggling was glorious. They were so sweet together. Chevis brought his little pita bread shaped snuggle bed that I will show you and put a link to in the comments. It's from Snoozer. It's lovely, and they both got into it and they were just snuggling the whole time. They were constantly on the sofa together, like almost always in each other's company, which was really sweet. Nice for us because she would just be off somewhere else in the house. Like, she's normally quite clingy with us at home, but it was very nice to see her just off and content somewhere else with Chev. The snuggling was lovely. I would be lying if I said I didn't cry sometimes because it was so cute. 110% enough of a reason by itself to get a second whippet. Anyway, if you've got 2 whippets and can shed some insight, more insight into what it's like living with them, then please let us know in the comments. Something really tells me that we are just a few mere months away from starting to try and find a second whippet to rehome. But yeah, we're just trying to make sure that we know exactly what we're getting into before we do it. So help us work it out, let us know, drop your experiences in the comments. You can find us over on Instagram at Worried Whippet, or me, I'm human.jess. I've also got my own channel. I recently was diagnosed with ADHD, so if that's interesting to you, do go and check it out. And thanks for checking in. We'll see you soon. Bye.